I feel superhuman.
So, have you been making money coaching people?
I have.
Do you find that it's very fulfilling?
Very fulfilling.
Do you love it?
I love it.
Can you tell us one story of how you've helped somebody?
Oh my gosh. Yes, I can. So this was when I first took Arnoux's class. And let me just say this. The book is also part of a series that I took to learn how to create a book. So I use that as part of my format for completing that first book. So thank you so very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Say that. Yes. So when I first took this course, I had already been coaching about 30 women and had developed something, but there was still that little thing that was missing. And so I invited those 30 women to come into a group called Maiden's Bouquet. And it was literally like, you know, you're the flower girl and you want to be happy. So what is your bouquet of life? And so one of the young girls, young ladies, she wanted to be the first to try the 7 steps. And we were all in a video Zoom call. So this was witnessed by 29 other people. She had been molested from the time she was 3 to 12 years old. And her parents did not believe her. So it wasn't a parental thing, it was somebody else in the family. So she had run away from home because now she just doesn't have the trust of the family, and it was still happening. She runs away from home. Now she's also having a debilitating, emotional triggered body issues, so fibromyalgia, as well as many other traumatic body issues. So she was on all kinds of drugs. Medication, let me say it that way best. So we began working on her trauma. And at first her trauma was caught right here. She couldn't get it out of her diaphragm. And in this process, it took us 75 minutes to clear the trauma. She was so present to her body. It went from anguish to rage to euphoria, which was interesting to watch somebody go into a hysterical laughter and then fall right back into crying again. And she could tell where the pain would shift and move from her diaphragm. It would go underneath her breastplate. She could feel it. She could feel it going into her lymph nodes. She felt it going into her neck. She would even say where it descended into her pubic area. She was that present. We would see her contorting her body because it was moving everywhere. And we finally got to the last clearing, and I asked her, I said, let's go back to that moment. Let's go back to the first moment that you remember and the last moment that you remember that occurred to you. And she says, I'm neutral. I realize it happened, but I don't feel that in here any longer. I said, that's excellent. Everybody was crying just watching this whole thing happen. So a week later, I get a phone call. She goes, something weird is really happening. I said, what? She goes, so, you know, we did the clearing? I said, yeah. She says, 2 days later, my parents called me unprovoked and said, we believe you. She goes, how did that happen? And I started to tell her how it happened. She goes, but wait a minute, there's more. She said, 2 days after that, my perpetrator called me to ask forgiveness, but he doesn't even know my parents know. She's like, how is this happening? So I go to tell her. She goes, but there's more. I said, okay, what else? And she said, so you know I want to be a death doula. I said, yeah, I do. She says, well, I have another certification that I have to pay for. Could not figure out how I was going to get the money to pay for it. It was like $600. She goes, she begins telling me, one of her mother's friends had been watching her transform and saw an immediate change in her in the last week because she had noticed her post on Facebook had changed dramatically. And she says, whatever she just did, I need to support. So she calls her and asks her, how are you doing? And she says, I'm feeling really good. She goes, aren't you supposed to be doing some death thing? That's what she calls it. She goes, yeah, my death doula class. And she goes, I want to contribute. Wrote her a check for $600. She didn't even know how much it was. She says, Why is that happening? So I said to her, you're holding a vibration because you're just a vibrational being. And that whole vibration was in a victim state all the time. And you owe me, and you owe me, and I hate you because you don't believe me. And that's what she was carrying. So therefore, she was making every person guilty, even though they weren't, even if they couldn't understand. And when she let all of that down, then all of a sudden, that vibration, now what I say was like this, now became like this, which now let people in. And so, therefore, they received her complete forgiveness. The beautiful thing, she decreased her medication. She says what was 2 handfuls of medication now became 1 handful because some things she still had to process out of her body. That was just my first client from taking this course, my first set. And from that time frame, I ended up working before the summer was done, because we did that in the summertime. I had taught 90 women about this process, and I did it in a class form. So it was quite amazing. I have some incredible, great shares, and even today I cleared this major thing, and Lydia was in my daughter was in a horrible, just traumatic car accident, and this beautiful woman was there when I was on the phone with her, and she just wanted to pour it out, and I was going to cut her off to fix it. I was like, just do this. And she's like, Mom, can you just listen? That was my lesson. I said, yeah, I can just listen. So she just said it all. She was lonely, she's afraid, she's mad, she's angry, she doesn't have her car anymore. She completely totaled. And I said, oh, thank you for trusting me to hear your story. I said, Mommy went through something pretty funky today too, but it was really life-changing. Can I share it with you? She goes, I'll listen. I said, okay, so you'll just have to repeat after me. And that's how I got into, without teaching her the 7 steps, we just got right to the point. She did her not statements. And by the end of that, I asked her, how do you feel about your car? Because that was her baby. She says, I'm not mad anymore, I'm not angry, I'm not lonely, and I'm not sad. She goes, I'm just pretty... Okay, next chapter.
Bravo! For your free training on how to skyrocket energy levels in 30 minutes or less, visit TotalHealthMasteryUSA.com. The results and benefits of our training program are only available to members of our private association.